Welcome to the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Composting and Food Waste Reduction Project webinar presentation on fiscal year 2023 applications. I am Sharante Williams, Lead Grants and Agreements Coordinator with USDA's Office of Urban Agriculture and Innovative Production. I'm joined today for this presentation by Sean Potts, Composting and Food Waste Reduction Lead, Urban Agriculture and Innovative Production Lead, Jose Jimenez. This presentation is recorded and has been posted on farmers.gov/urban. Today's presentation will be divided into 5 sections. First, an overview of the Office of Urban Agriculture and Innovative Production. Then, a description of the Composting and Food Waste Reduction Cooperative Agreements. Then the application, evaluation, and notification process. And lastly, some helpful tips and where to submit questions. A frequently asked questions FAQ document is available for review at farmers.gov/urban. By visiting the resources section of the Cooperative Agreements webpage, new questions can be submitted to urbanagriculture@usda.gov and may be added to the FAQ document. USDA can provide general, high-level responses to inquiries that applicants may have regarding the application process. However, USDA staff are unable to offer specific guidance on how to craft, structure, or write one's proposal. So what is the Office of Urban Agriculture and Innovative Production? Abbreviated OUAIP, it is an office within U.S. Department of Agriculture managed by the Natural Resources Conservation Service. The mission of the OUAIP is to encourage and promote urban, indoor, and other emerging agricultural practices, including community composting and food waste production. The authorizing statutes and regulations for this opportunity are under Section 12302 of Agriculture Improvement Act of 2018, otherwise known as the 2018 Farm Bill. The Composting and Food Waste Reduction CFWR Cooperative Agreement Pilot Program is authorized by Section 222 of the Department of Agriculture Reorganization Act of 1994, as added by Section 12302 of the Agriculture Improvement Act of 2018, 7 USC 6923. The Secretary of Agriculture delegated the authority for the administration of CFWR to the Chief of the Natural Resources Conservation Service, NRCS. Funding for CFWR in FY 2023 may also include funding made available by the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, Public Law 117-2. While applicants are encouraged to submit proposals that meet more than one of the objectives below, the inclusion of which will be considered when ranking proposals. OUAIP will accept proposals that address at least one of the following: generate compost, increase access to compost for agricultural producers, reduce reliance on and limit the use of chemical fertilizer, improve soil quality, encourage waste management, promote permaculture-based business development, increase rainwater absorption, reduce municipal food waste, and divert food waste from landfills. A cooperative agreement is financial assistance from USDA to an eligible entity to carry out composting and food waste reduction activities. It is different from a grant in that it provides for substantial involvement between NRCS and the awardee in carrying out a CFWR pilot project. To help galvanize national efforts to reduce food loss and waste, USDA and EPA announced the United States' first ever food loss and waste reduction goal in September 2015, calling for a 50% reduction by 2030. The government alone cannot reach this goal. It will require effort and action from the entire food system. The agency and its federal partners will be substantially involved in the work performed under the agreement and will undertake activities such as the following. NRCS will connect pilot projects with other USDA agencies such as, and not limited to, the Economic Research Service, ERS, National Institute of Food and Agriculture, NIFA, the Office of Chief Economist, OCE, and federal partners like the United States Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, to collaborate on project activities and outcomes that contribute to the U.S. food loss and waste 2030 goal. NRCS will coordinate and convene the CFWR pilot project teams and other federal government, regional, institution, state, and local experts to share information and strategies related to CFWR with the goal of enhancing the locally driven process to better address nationally and regionally important composting and food waste reduction goals that transcend localities. NRCS will gather the methods, results, and benefits derived from the project to evaluate and disseminate different solutions for increasing access to compost and reducing municipal food waste across the United States. Proposals submitted under this announcement will be reviewed for the alignment with USDA priorities on climate, equity, and environmental justice. Applicants are encouraged to review Executive Order 12985, Advancing Racial Equity and Support to Underserved Communities, Executive Order 14008, Tackling the Climate Crisis at Home and Abroad, and Executive Order 13990, Protecting Public Health and the Environment and Restoring Science to Tackle the Climate Crisis. To learn more about these critical priorities, I will now turn the presentation over to Sean.
Thank you, Sharante. Priority will be given to CFWR pilot projects applications that 1. Anticipate or demonstrate economic benefit for the targeted community. 2. Incorporate plans to make compost easily accessible to agricultural producers, including community gardeners, school gardens, and producers in urban settings. 3. Integrate food waste reduction strategies, including innovative food recovery efforts such as, but not limited to, food gleaning, storage, and preservation techniques. And 4, include a robust plan that describes collaboration with multiple partners. We will discuss each in the following slides. Projects will be given to an application. Priority will be given to an application that can anticipate or demonstrates an economic benefit. Pilot projects may include deliverables and outcomes that anticipate or demonstrate economic benefits to the applicant and its collaborators. Examples include increased economic efficiency through project activities and a plan for self-sustainability, or a cost-effective budget in relation to the measurable outcomes and project impacts to include the rent or lease of equipment, vehicles, land, and building space during the length of the agreement instead of purchase. Second, how well does a project incorporate plans to make compost easily accessible to agricultural producers, including community gardeners, school gardens, and producers in urban settings? Pilot projects may include activities that divert food waste from landfills to generate compost. They may include activities that increase the adoption of composting as a household, community, or industrial practice, aggregate compost for use by gardeners and farmers, and would likely include plans to continue aspects or components of the project related to composting beyond the end of the project period. Through these pilot projects, USDA is tapping into the creativity of communities across the nation to rethink the life cycle of food in ways that will minimize its waste and maximize its use. Additional priority will be given to pilot projects that integrate food waste reduction strategies, including innovative food recovery efforts such as, but not limited to, food gleaning, storage, and preservation and reclamation techniques. Pilot projects may include activities that complement or strengthen any existing food waste recovery and disposal by commercial marketing or business relationships in the area. They may include locally driven processes that better address nationally or regionally important composting and food waste reduction goals that transcend localities and reduce municipal food waste through the integration of food recovery efforts such as donation, secondary markets like produce delivery services, feeding animals, value-added products, on-farm storage, and others. Applicants are encouraged to consult the EPA food recovery hierarchy, pictured here, when considering project objectives and outcomes. Finally, priority will be given to pilot projects that include a robust plan that describes collaboration with multiple partners. Eligible entities should collaborate with 2 or more partner organizations on their CFWR project. Applicants are encouraged to seek partnerships with public or private, nonprofit, or for-profit entities, K through 12 schools, institutions of higher education, including minority-serving colleges and universities, as well as other appropriate professional and community-based organizations. Only the applicants must meet the eligibility requirements for this funding opportunity. Thus, non-eligible entities may be partners on a project. The eligible entity that submits the application to the Natural Resources Conservation Service is the responsible entity for receiving and managing the award. Applicants that apply as partnerships or other similar groupings must clearly describe the relationship between the applicant and the partner parties. Awards will only be made to a single entity. All letters of support and letters of intent for each partner are required to be within the application. Who is eligible to apply for a CFWR cooperative agreement? This opportunity is for local governments, municipalities, counties, tribal governments, or tribal organizations, or city planners are eligible to apply for CFWR and must be located within the United States, the District of Columbia, Caribbean area to include Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands, and the Pacific Island area, including Guam, American Samoa, and the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands. The definition of local government is any government within a state, including a county, borough, municipality, city, town, township, parish, local public authority, including a public housing agency under the United States Housing Act of 1937, 50 Statute 888 PL 75-412. special district, school district, intrastate district, council of governments, whether or not incorporated as a nonprofit corporation under state law, and any other agency or instrumentality of a multi-state, regional, or intrastate local government. You can find this definition listed on the frequently asked questions located on farmers.gov/urban and on grants.gov. The following term for local government is from the Common Data Element Repository, CDER, library. The CDER library is the authoritative federal-wide source of financial and business terms, which is based on the Office of Management and Budget's Uniform Grants Guidance and the Digital Accountability and Transparency Act, or DATA Act. That brings us to who is not eligible to apply for CFWR. Individuals such as farmers or gardeners, for-profit organizations and small businesses, state governments, and institutions of higher education, including extension programs, are not eligible to apply for CFWR projects. Applicants not located within the United States, District of Columbia, Caribbean area, including Puerto Rico and U.S. Virgin Islands, and the Pacific Islands area, including Guam, American Samoa, and the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, are non-eligible. The estimated funding floor for this opportunity is $55,000, and the estimated funding ceiling is $400,000. We apologize for the error on the slide before you. The funding floor means the minimum agreement funding amount for the federal share per agreement awarded. The ceiling is the maximum agreement funding amount for the federal share per agreement awarded. These numbers refer to the total federal share, not any specific budget period. Applicants are expected to complete projects within the required time frame. Projects should be 24 months or 2 years in duration. Applicants are required to match 25% of total federal share requested. There is no competitive advantage for an applicant to provide a match that exceeds the required amount. If your project is selected for funding, any exceeding amount will be considered voluntary. Applications must include written documentation showing the amount and sources of match, including signed letters verifying match funds. Applications submitted to grants.gov that do not include a commitment or secure match, along with required matching documentation, will be considered ineligible for the award. This is an example of how to calculate the match requirement. If the total project budget is $90,000, the applicant would request $67,500 in USDA funds, which is 75% of their budget in their application. They must provide the match amount of $22,500, which is 25% of the budget. It's important to remember the minimum award amount for the pilot project is $45,000. The maximum is $90,000. Your requested project budget should request funds from USDA within this range. What types of matches will be accepted? Matching may be achieved by contribution of cash, supplies, services, third-party in-kind contributions, or in combination from sources other than funds provided through the grant. Cash can be a recipient's cash outlay, a cash donation with non-federal third parties, or non-federal grants. In-kind can be the value of non-cash contributions, typically in the form of personnel, goods, and services. Volunteer services provided by third-party professionals, including technical personnel, consultants, and other skilled and unskilled labor, can be counted towards cost sharing or matching if the service is an integral and necessary part of project activities. What types of match will not be accepted? Applicants cannot use program income or any other federal funds as a match. Applicants cannot use unrecovered indirect costs as part of a match requirement either. Unrecovered indirect costs means the difference between the amount charged to the federal award and the amount that could have been charged under the potential recipient approved negotiated indirect cost rate, or NICRA. Now, we'll discuss activities that can be funded under this cooperative agreement. Activities that include materials, supplies, and other costs related to the development and testing strategies to generate compost and reduce food waste are allowable. However, the per unit cost of each supply item must be below $5,000. Any item per unit cost of $5,000 or above is considered equipment. Funds may be used to construct, alter, repair, including dredging, excavating, and painting, buildings, structures, or other real property. Erecting a building or making substantial changes to the footprint of a building would be considered a construction project. Funds can be used to expand or improve current compost operations. Funds may be used for personnel whose time and effort can be specifically identified activities. Projects with budgets not including the purchase of special purpose equipment, vehicles, land, and building space during the length of the grant will be given higher consideration. Any lease or rental agreements must terminate at the end of the grant cycle. Special purpose equipment means equipment which is used only for research, medical, scientific, or other technical activities. Projects are not eligible funding if the activities include the disposal of animal carcasses and materials or animal byproducts that are not accepted in compost as a component of CFWR. General purpose equipment means equipment which is not limited to research, medical, scientific, or other technical activities. Examples include office equipment and furnishings, modular offices, telephone networks, information technology equipment and systems, air conditioning equipment, reproduction and printing equipment, and motor vehicles. Organized fundraising includes financial campaigns, solicitation of gifts and bequests, and similar expenses incurred to raise capital or obtain contributions, regardless of the purpose for which the funds will be used. This list is not exhaustive, and a more detailed list of funding restrictions is provided in the Notice of Funding Opportunity. All of the overview information shared today can be found through the resources that have been made publicly available at farmers.gov/urban and grants.gov. We encourage you to visit farmers.gov/urban to learn more about the Office of Urban Agriculture and Innovative Production, as well as other funding opportunities. You can reach out to us with any high-level inquiries about the composting and food waste reduction pilot project at urbanagriculture@usda.gov. Thank you. Now I will turn the presentation over to Jose.
Thank you, Sean. The next parts of today's webinars, 3 and 4, will cover the applications and evaluation process with some helpful tips. You can find and download the Notice of Funding Opportunity and related documents by going directly through grants.gov and doing a keyword search for the acronym CFWR. The Catalog of Federal Domestic Assistance, the CFDA number, can also known as the Assistance Listing 10.935, or also by entering the Funding of Opportunity number, which is the USDA NRCS NHQ CFWR 23 NOFO 0001235 in the upper right corner of the web page. Some necessary pre-work involves several steps that the applicant is responsible for completing. The first is locating the opportunity on grants.gov, fully read the Notice of Funding Opportunity, NFO, to make sure that you're eligible to apply and understand the instructions. If you determine your organization is eligible and wants to apply, follow the instructions on the NFO. The Notice of Funding Opportunity is several pages in length, so be sure to read the entire document. After you have located the NFO, and select it, you will be able to view the opportunity information by clicking the tab labeled Related Documents. A list of files will appear that can be printed or downloaded, such as the full announcements and other associated documents and instructions. Don't wait until the last minute. This chart is a general overview and it includes the main steps a new organization or organizations that have never applied for a federal grant must complete before application outside of the grants.gov prior to applying through grants.gov. You must obtain an employer identification number, or the EIN, also known as the Federal Tax Identification Number, TIN, which is used to identify a business entity. If your organization does not have an EIN, you should allow some additional 5 weeks to request and obtain an EIN from the IRS. The length of time to get an EIN depends on whether you apply online, by fax, or by email. But please refer to the IRS for an accurate time frame. Also, you need to obtain a unique entity identifier, also known as a UEI, from the System for Award Management, or SAM. This is a number by going to SAMs.gov, and this can take 1 or 2 business days, which you may need to refer to SAMs.gov on a more accurate time frame. Registering the UEI with the SAMs.gov system is also a required step for your organization to be able to apply for federal grants. This registration process is free. You need to have a TIN or an EIN with your UEI number to be able to register in SAM. This process can take up to from 7 to 10 business days. Please refer to sam.gov for a more accurate time frame. Finally, you also need to register with grants.gov. That amount of time that takes to register can vary, and you should allow a full 2 weeks to complete the registration process. But additional time may be required. More detailed information about each of these steps is on grants.gov registration page. Finally, a CFWR application must be received by 11:59 Eastern Standard Time on the due date listed on grants.gov and as published through grants.gov. Only applications submitted through this electronic system will be considered. And if you should encounter any technical difficulties while you're applying, you need to, while trying to complete any of these steps, you need to contact the Federal Help Desk at grants.gov for support. First, we need to know what forms you need to submit. See the checklist attached to the NFO. The CFWR program requires that all application packages include a project proposal narrative. This proposal, each page must be numbered and have a 1-inch margin. The text must be single-spaced in a type of a standard time frame, typeface like Times New Roman, Arial, or Courier, with a no smaller than 12-point font. It has to have a project title and summary abstract, not to exceed a 1 page, and the project narrative must not exceed 15 pages long. Please note that the project summary and abstract are the project narrative, and the project narrative are distinct documents that must be uploaded separately. Attaching the summary to the narrative or vice versa would not satisfy the requirement. Proposals that fail to comply with the required content and format will not be considered for funding. Materials exceeding the stated page limits and/or formatting structure will also not be considered. Incomplete and/or non-compliant proposals will not be considered. Other forms in document required include a standard form 424, or the application for federal assistance, the standard form 424A, budget information for non-construction programs. In this, you have to be sure to detail both federal and non-federal contribution on the project by each class category. The budget narrative is a separate document titled Budget Narrative, and it will explain and justify all the requested budget item and cost. You're going to detail how the totals on the SF 424A were determined and they demonstrate a clear connection between the costs and the proposed project activities. Matching costs and share. Signed letters verifying matching funds for each cash or in-kind resource is required. For third-party contribution, a separate letter of support is required for each contribution, signed by the authorized organization or representative of the contributing organization and the applicant organization. Collaboration letters. Also, documentation that verifies support for collaboration is required. Such documentation may include a separate letter of support for each partner that it's signed by the authorized representative of the organization. Letters documenting collaboration or match are not included in the 15-page limit. When applicable, the standard Form 424C budget information for construction programs is needed to be completed for only if the proposed includes construction. And finally, the Negotiated Indirect Cost Rate Agreement, or the NICRA. This is a negotiated cost rate agreement required if you're requesting indirect costs. The NICRA must be in a PDF format and attached to the grants.gov application package. Applicants selected for an award who do not have a NICRA but request indirect costs must accept the 10% de minimis rate as a condition of the award, which constitute establishing a new approved rate. Recipients who do not request indirect costs are prohibited from charging indirect costs to a federal award. When you're ready to apply, you're going to click on the tab labeled Package and then select Apply tab. As a reminder, applications must be received by 11:59 Eastern Standard Time on the day posted to grants.gov, 90 days of competition. Applications received after this deadline will not be considered for funding. Late submissions will not be reviewed or considered. The agency will rely on the system grants.gov to generate the day and time received documentation to determine whether the application meets the submission deadline. Grants.gov provides an automatic acknowledgement when the applications are received. So what happens if you need technical assistance? Remember that these systems are not owned or managed by the USDA. You must contact the applications directly for assistance. Call 1-800-829-4933 for business and 877-829-5500 for nonprofits to contact the Internal Revenue System if you experience issues with the employee identification number or the tax identification numbers. Also, you may call 1-866-606-8220 to contact SAMS.gov with the unique identity identifier UEI issues or questions. You need to go to the help desk, the help tab on the top of the SAMS.gov website for assistance and user guides. Please call the 1-800-518-4726 or email supports@grants.gov to receive supports from grants.gov directly. Keep record of any correspondence with the grants.gov or other help desk to include any ID or case numbers that may be provided to you. Now, moving on to our review process, each application will be evaluated in a two-part process. First, the application will be screened to ensure that it meets administrative requirements as set forth in the Notice of Funding Opportunity. This slide shows examples of applications that will not meet the administrative requirement. Those where the applications have been submitted late through grants.gov, proposals that do not comply with the required content, format, or formatting structure that includes a page limit length, the application is incomplete or compliant, or the application does not fit with the purpose of the CFWR project. These slides continue on the administrative review process with some additional examples. Proposals which include activities funded by another award or applicants that do not meet eligibility criteria to include eligible applicant type, where the applicant is identified in the SAMS.gov exclusion database as ineligible, prohibited, restricted, or excluded. And finally, where the applicant has committed fraud, including material, misleading, or incorrect information on the application. The second part of the process will involve applications that have met the administrative review requirement. These be evaluated with the technical evaluation by a review panel. Appropriate members of the Natural Resource Conservation Service and other USDA agencies will review all applications submitted. If necessary, will also seek opinions from others who are qualified to give expert advice on the specific topic. Reviews will be conducted by teams that are considered when evaluating each proposal. To be sure to review the 5 criteria yourself stated in the NFO so you can understand what they should address, what you should address in your project and budget narrative. A summary of the 5 criteria of this funding opportunity are on this slide. This information is very clearly stated on the Notice of Funding Opportunity. First, is the degree of consistency with purpose and priorities of the CFWR. That's a maximum of 35 points. The second is the projected positive impact and measurable outcomes, which is the degree which the plan is presented successfully demonstrates the potential for a significant positive impact on existing food waste reduction strategies, including recovery and disposal, to strengthen commercial, marketing, or business relationships needed to accomplish those goals. That's also a maximum of 25 points. Third is the fiscal plan and resources, which is the degree to which the project anticipates or demonstrates efficiency, to include evaluating the amount of federal funds requested and the cost effectiveness of the budget, to include an analysis of the items when you're requesting rental of equipment, vehicle, land, and building spaces during the length of the cooperative agreement instead of a purchase. In relations to expected measurable outcomes and projected impact, that's a maximum of 20 points. Fourth and final proposal evaluation factors is the collaboration with partners. This is the quality of the plan for collaborating with multiple partners, including a public or private entities, non-for-profit or for-profit entities, academic institutions to include minority service, college and universities, and other appropriate professionals, community-based organizations, and local government entities to achieve objectives and outcomes. That's a maximum of 20 points. After technical reviews have been completed, pilot projects will be submitted to the approving official. The approving official of this opportunity is the chief of the NRCS. That's all for me. Back to you, Sharante. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. So let's recap. This is an outline of the application, evaluation and notification process, and tentative timeline for the composting and food waste reduction CFWR Cooperative Agreement Pilot Program. Once the NFO is available on grants.gov, steps 1 and 2 must be completed by the applicant. The application package must be submitted to grants.gov by 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time on the due date listed on grants.gov. Step 3 and 4, the agency will complete an administrative review of all applications. Applications that are found to be administratively complete will then move on to be peer-reviewed and evaluated. Step 5, The agency anticipates announcing or notifying successful and unsuccessful applicants by August 17, 2023. Helpful tips. Do not wait until the last minute. Read the NOFO in its entirety and be sure you understand. Align your project proposal narrative and a budget narrative. Clearly state project goals and objectives. Make those goals and objectives measurable and time-bound. Make sure your proposal complies with the required content and format, including page limits, and get input from your collaborators and partners. Questions. Any questions can be sent to the OUAIP inbox at urbanagriculture@usda.gov. As a reminder, USDA staff are unable to offer specific guidance on how to craft, structure, or write one's proposal. Relevant questions will be added to the existing composting and food waste reduction project frequently asked questions document posted online at grants.gov and farmers.gov/urban. This presentation with closed captioning will also be posted on the farmers.gov/urban and grants.gov websites with closed captioning. Thank you for attending the Composting and Food Waste Reduction CFWR Pilot Project webinar, and we hope to see your application.